What's going on? What's going on? This is Greg. I am the host of the Tinker Tribe podcast. Welcome to another episode this week. And this week, I wanted to talk about the topic that I recently listened to on the Survival podcast with Jack Spirko talking about ideas on how we can reclaim our food sovereignty in local foods, especially here in the United States, and wanted to share some things that we're doing here locally that I feel like, not only the individual efforts, but coming together as a community that feed into the solutions that some of the things that Jack was talking about tonight. So that's going to be the topic, and to catch everybody up on everything that's been going on. Well, this last weekend was another work day out at the property that I have, and we myself and Logan from Hideaway Homestead and another buddy of mine were down at the property working on getting the other outhouse completed. So we have two outhouse buildings completed now. We got the frame for the doors put on, and we've got the composting toilets, and now they just need to go into their final resting areas, and did some landscaping work and finish those outhouse buildings. So I just posted a video on the channel showing that part of the whole project. So multiple phases, and then the next step is going to be starting to build the actual cabins that we'll be renting out on the land. And so we got more landscaping to do, got more more buildings to work on, and so yeah, we've got to clear some of the property and start cutting in some trails to where these cabins are going to go, and that'll be the next step of the process, which we're going to focus on building two 12 by 12 cabins that can be rented out, and get those finished in time for us. Well, we're attempting to do it at the best rate that we can, getting out there on Saturdays to do work days out there. And so hope to get it up and running as soon as we can, so we can start hosting some people. And probably going to be a discount code for everybody that listens to the podcast for staying at the property. So stay tuned for that. Still figuring out like how I've got to set all that up so that we'll use like HipCamp or Airbnb, or probably multiple ones of these apps that help people find your property to camp at. We probably start off with HipCamp and grow from there. So yeah, go check out that latest video I just posted before coming on tonight, and check out the progress, follow along. I'll be editing video content and getting it out there for the upcoming phases, and and making sure that I'm documenting the whole process so that you can follow along with what we're doing. So it's pretty exciting. We really got a lot accomplished over the weekend. Really, really happy on the work that we did. And then also bought some reclaimed materials off of one of my buddies that was out there helping. And that is going to go towards some of the builds that were out there. Went out there on Sunday and we transported all our materials and got caught in a pretty bad storm out there as we were making our way down to drop off all the materials. It didn't have tarps. So I was going to pick some up at the Harbor Freight, and it was Sunday and they were closed. So didn't have all the stuff I needed, but we kind of made it work. We figured it out. We were unloading all the materials in the rain. Neither of us had rain gear. It was dark, but we got it done. And so really thankful to my buddy for um, helping me bring all those materials down there, and for giving me a deal on all those materials, all that reclaimed lumber and everything. So yeah, things are moving along in that regard, and that, I guess, that kind of catches you guys up with where I'm at. I'm still the next phase with building the cabins. We're going to be setting the structural 4x4s onto some concrete piers, and then putting the metal brackets in there. So we're talking about that over the weekend and strategizing on what I need to have prepared for getting that going. And that is something where I'm gonna have to get the water hookup turned on, and I've got the stuff for all the paperwork I need to submit for that, and I need to call the um, the water folks and make sure that I have everything that they need so that I can get a water service turned on and have that available for when we're going to be building and putting in these concrete piers, because we're going to be needing water for the concrete. I do have some water on the property, some water catchment on the property that the location that we're going to be in. If I don't have that ready yet, I will be able to get some water by pumping some water from some of the water catchment that I have in an IBC tote that's on the property. Um, so that's the next step, and this Saturday be back out there working on that, and just keeping the project going. So um so yeah, man, it's been really fun getting out there and working, having Logan and my buddy there. um I don't know if he wants me, if I can say his name. He likes to remain somewhat anonymous, but anyway, having them out there and working on Saturday was just really really awesome and really fun. At the end of the day, Logan brought some of his rabbits for us to try out. We had a grate, and we just cooked it over the fire with some brush that I needed to get burned up. So we did that at the end of the day. Kind of all hung out and ate some of the rabbit that he brought. Cooked it over a fire that we built, and it was just a really productive day. And we're talking about how much you can get done when you have, you know, multiple people on a project. It keeps multiplying your efforts, and it was just a good time. We worked really hard and got those two composting toilet outhouses completed. um we're going to be doing some finishing work on those, and maybe moving them around a little bit more, and also um, staking them to the ground, because the roof if like a good wind caught it, that has a potential of maybe knocking it over. So so I got some cleats that we can add to the side of the outhouses if we can stake them down to the ground. And I got some ground anchors and some rebar that I can drive into the ground, and the building can be tied down to that, so that if there was a big wind or something that came through the area, that it wouldn't want to topple over the little outhouse buildings that we just built. So yeah, all that got accomplished over the weekend. Really happy with where we're at in the project so far, and just excited to see where we get to, and how how quickly we can accomplish pulling off these little cabins, so that we can start hosting some people on the property. And I talked to one of my coworkers today to get some ideas on things that we could have off the bat on the property, and want to keep doing research on successful like hip camp and people that are renting out parts of their land for this kind of stuff. I've been watching a lot of videos on all these folks that are doing glamping type stuff. In the camp that we're building is going to be, you know, in the beginning here, not the glamping experience, but you know, uh depends on your definition of glamping, like having a nice place, little shelter that you can be in, having a fire pit, and maybe some hammocks that you can hang out in, and you know um some stuff like that, and some toilets that you can use, and all that. For some, we consider that glamping. So yeah, super excited about that. And the vision for the property is to be a permaculture demonstration camp, so that I was thinking about this during the week, to put up some infographics on the how the soil, microbes in that whole soil food web cycle is, and talk about different zones, like when you're planning out your food system in permaculture, you have these different zones, and zone 1 is going to be the place that you're closest to, so you grow food there, so that it's really convenient to be able to get to there, like having a kitchen garden. And and then you go into further zones where you won't have to do as much regular maintenance, so you have your perennial stuff that you can gather, and then also forage in and on the land, and some examples of different earthworks and things like that on the property, and building a map of where some things are. And another idea was to give like baskets to the guests, and then if they wanted to be able to pick the some of the food that's growing on the property, that might get incorporated into the cost of booking the property, and being like, uh, don't overpick, so that there's some left for the next people, and make it an honor system kind of thing, and see how that works out. But yeah, it's I guess that gets us to the topic that I wanted to talk about tonight. And this came from the Survival Podcast, listening to Jack Spirko this couple episodes ago. I think it wasn't his most recent episode, but the one before it. And he was basically talking about different ideas on how the modern agricultural system works, and how farmers have to there's a lot of barriers to entry if you're a new farmer, in that you want to start providing food for people, all the regulations and the loans that you have to get and the types of crops that are grown and all this stuff is subsidized and difficult to enter into because the scale is so large that it's a multi-million dollar effort to be able to have number one have enough land and then to even eke out any kind of a living, being able to being able to grow enough so that you can be manage the debts that you've incurred. So the system as it is right now, we're exporting a lot of our food out of the country, and a lot of it is a lot of monocrop type things, and then a lot of the crops are having to be sprayed with these pesticides and herbicides, which are not the healthy things to ingest ourselves, and void of a lot of the nutrition because of the long distances for the food distribution and the channels that they have to go. One of the one of the quotes that I went and looked up today for getting this podcast going, talking about the theme of the podcast, and thinking about my my personal thoughts on where I would like to see humanity and helping humanity be, thrive is a quote from Bill Mollison, and this is one of his quotes. He said, "The greatest change we need to make is from consumption to production, even if on a small scale in our own gardens. If only 10% of us do this, there's enough for everyone. Hence the futility of revolutionaries who have no gardens, who depend on the very system they attack, and who produce words and bullets, not food and shelter." So I ran I ran across that quote, or I heard that quote from Bill Mollison a while back, and may have mentioned it in previous podcasts, but thinking about that, it really hits home because we have our grievances with the current system, but you ask anybody that's out there right now if they could make it without having to go to the local grocery store, or um if you could make it on your own without having to go to any kind of local grocery store or anything like that. um we're very dependent still on all these systems that exist, and no one is 100% growing all the food that they need to survive, and it's a very tall order to do that. It takes a long time to get to anywhere close to that. But what is realistic and what folks can achieve is to do that 10% of growing your own stuff. And that initial phase, you're gonna learn a lot about pests and building your soil and composting and all that stuff. It takes time and it takes trial and error to figure out, and talking to other people that are also growing food to figure out the all the tips and tricks, and watching videos and learning from different people and applying that yourself. um you're not going to make it just on a bunch of food that you stored in your freezers and bought, all the freeze dried food that you can store away on the shelf, and think that that's going to last you. It'll last you for a little bit, and then you need a longer term solution. And so really that I believe that that solution is to decentralize our food system. And that was a big thing that Jack was talking about, was that there are people growing local foods, but it's you know they're not really marketing themselves or even thinking about um, selling the food that they're growing. A lot of us are homesteaders that we're working on being able to grow enough food for ourselves and our families, and maybe not thinking about like providing an over in an overabundance to our local markets, and marketing and selling our stuff locally. And that was a big concern with or that was a big pinch point in the development of our local food networks, which is that distribution and sales and marketing issue. And a lot of us have grown in the system of the public or the government schooling system, the public indoctrination system, where we're taught to be these non-entrepreneurial, just kind of worker bees for the system uh, in our education. And I feel like, looking at myself, that I have a lot of that programming myself, thinking, not thinking the in the entrepreneurial way, and being in that poverty, kind of that poverty mindset where um selling, like, it feels kind of weird to sell things. And I don't know, I've talked about this in the past, where it's like, um as like an idealistic person, I want to be able to help other people. And I guess maybe there's some roadblocks in my mind, where it's just like, well, I just want to help other people and share in the abundance. And um while that's I don't think that's a bad mentality to have, but doing so uh at the expense where you're giving like all the everything away, and you're not rebuilding any kind of capital so that you can keep expanding and creating more abundance. You're able to maximize the amount of people that you are helping by building some kind of a business, and being able to reinvest in and grow to a bigger scale for helping more and more people that way. So it's a mindset shift, I believe, for a lot of us that have grown up in that system. And we really have to unlearn a lot of things in the way that we were trained, as the other podcast that Jack has been listening uh to his podcast pretty regularly here lately, and talking about how our minds have been molded by this Prussian education system, that its goal is to create people that will just go along to get along, basically. And listen to the authority figures, and you're trained to get up and move classes at specific times, and to be there at a certain time, and then to regurgitate the material, memorize, and just regurgitate the material that somebody's given you, and not question that information, and think for yourself. It's just about doing what you're told, and the people that get the best grades are actually the people that are the best at going along with the system and doing what they're told. And there's several factors in that where um you're kept from cooperating with other people so that you can help build something that you're working on, or being independent and not tied to your set having your schedule set by someone else, and doing the 9 to 5 kind of program. So so really, it's unlearning the way that things have been going for a long time. And I think as a process and as a people, we really got to be working on our ourselves. The change will come as we make different choices individually. Part of that is growing some of your own food. And one of the key points that was brought up with that was that amount of food that you're growing for yourself is taking away some of that grocery bill that you have. And you can take that extra money that you have in buying higher quality local foods from people. And the local producers ha- can actually undercut a lot of this mass produced, like okay, so because the food won't have to be distributed long distances, even though it's made in such high quantities, the foods that you want to seek out are not these processed foods and seed oils and things with seed oils, and all the high fructose corn syrup stuff that's out there. And it's in so much of the food that you just go find at the grocery stores, that that if you're sourcing more of that food locally, that it's going to be much more nutrient dense than any of that stuff that you're going to buy off the grocery store shelves, as it's coming in from other countries, and highly processed, and throw all kinds of additives into the food to help with the preservation of it. And animals being in these confined animal feeding operations, and the whole system as it stands right now is, I believe, is really contributing to such ill health that we're in as a society. And if you begin to eat more nutrient dense foods, that it actually takes less food to satiate you as well, is what I've been learning myself, going on this health journey I've been going on, with doing the daily workouts and attempting to watch the things that are going into my body, and eating food that I've obtained from folks in my local networks. Um, and one of the things about that has been connecting with other people that are producing their own food, and being able to work with them and exchange value to be able to get the stuff that they're raising locally, and creating our own little local food networks by the work that we've been doing with our Freedom Cell, as an example. Um, so everybody's got different specialties, and when we come together, that we're able to figure out what everybody's growing, and exchange value to be able to help support each other in our network and parallel economy. Basically is the real effort behind the freedom cells and our network that we're attempting to build, in the community that we're working on, is to operate together so that there is a parallel system where the folks um that are like-minded in this way and are wanting to learn and wanting to produce, that there's an alternative to going and getting this stuff that's out at the stores, and weaning ourselves away from that and building a separate system so that um, we can reclaim our local food and have more of a decentralized food system. So that's one part of the equation, and that there's tons of solutions out there on how to do this. There's efforts of guerrilla gardening, which I think is super cool, y- and I really think like the counterculture is going to be folks that are doing this kind of stuff, and the rebels are the ones that are going to are blazing the path right now, and saying that you know everybody's got to eat, and the guerrilla gardening folks using different public lands, and maybe um uh I don't know if leasing land falls into the guerrilla gardening efforts, but just guerrilla gardening in general is like using unused space in like cities, or um in your local area. Like if you're walk by something every day, if you plant a few seeds in one of those areas, that in an area that won't be disturbed, that you can go by, and you can maintain it, and it's like extra area that you can be growing food. And so one of the things that was discussed in the podcast that Jack was talking about is that there's all these folks that want to do something, and these sometimes these churches will get together and they'll start these community gardens, and everybody will be really gung-ho about starting to do that in the beginning, and they'll get the raised beds and all that stuff set up, and doing all that, but it ends up failing because everybody's driving to the church. It's not in their local neighborhood where you can just go walk and maintain something, and it all ends up just getting overgrown with weeds and abandoned because there's nobody there to steward the land, and because there's nobody local there to work it. And one of the solutions that he was talking about was to actually have the churches lease a portion of the property to somebody that wants to make a profitable farming enterprise there. And a lot of these churches also have these food pantries, and instead of stocking the shelves with all the processed foods and stuff for the food pantry, that that money could go toward paying a farmer to produce the food for the local food pantries. And in that way, there's the value value exchange, because one of the big problems for somebody that wanted to get started with farming is that land cost, and being able to get the loans and all that if they wanted to start a really small a farm on some small acreage or something like that, that it can be cost prohibitive to use the to to buy land. And so being able to lease land that there may be farmers that have quite a bit of land and may not be doing something with the land, and could lease it to somebody else that is providing food for the local economy, that there is another solution there for people that are growers and producers, to lease land from other property owners, and to turn that into um, a profitable enterprise of some kind, uh, and not having to go up and get the loan structures as they currently sit. Is it makes it difficult for somebody that's a startup farmer that wants to do this regenerative type farming and provide a good organically grown farm product um, to their local community. And that would be one possible solution for getting that going. Um so there's lots of solutions. There's lots of ideas that are out there. If you're listening to this, if you guys have some ideas about what can be done for building local food sovereignty, I'd love to hear what you have to say. If you drop a comment in the video, when if you're watching the replay on this, on what you think some solutions are to this issue of having good quality, high quality nutrition, um, and local foods. And I think, just if you could do one thing and one takeaway from this stream tonight, it's about getting started yourself, and to do that 10% of growing your own food for yourself. And something else that you can do that is important, I believe, and there is a lot of opportunity, is connecting with the people that are growing food locally in your area and helping them to market and sell their products, and see if there's maybe some kind of deal you can work out where you can gain some commissions on helping them sell their products. So I feel like that is one of the big takeaways I took from listening to that podcast. Was like, that was one of our one of the big opportunities that exists right now. And somebody that's really good with creating some kind of um software tools, or maybe using AI, or you know just going out to these different farmers markets and events, and networking. You're a really good people person, and networking with folks that are local producers, and seeing where you can help them market some of their products or sell some of their products. I feel like that is going to be a really valuable thing to do in going into the future here, as the food quality and the traditional farming and the farmers are aging out. And so there needs to be an alternative solution. Everybody's got to eat, and the local food economy, I believe, is going to step in to fill the gap and get back to a decentralized food system, where a lot more local food is being grown, and the soils are being regenerated, and we're not using a lot of these chemicals and things on our food. Um, and finding out that we're you know a lot healthier and staying out of the doctor's offices by going in that direction. It really is talking to some of my friends recently that the system that we live in right now is a vampire system, and you think about working in your high energy young years. You have all this creativity and energy and capability to be really productive, and the taxes get pulled away from you for a lot of these socialized systems. And then by the time that you're old, you feel like you've worked really hard and you've saved money and you've built some wealth, and then you end up with health problems, and then you know end up in medical debt or something like that from the health problems that you have. So all of that was drained from you, and then you get drained again from the medical expenses that you're having to go through. And so um and you know you want to live nice and healthy and not have to be to be able to stand on your own 2 feet in your old age and be able to still enjoy life and enjoy things and enjoy your family, and not be have your wealth siphoned away into medical bills and things like that. And so I feel like a lot of our health can come from the foods that we're eating. You also need to maintain your muscle mass. It I believe is an important factor as well, and staying in good shape, and that also feeds into nutrition. If you're not giving your body the appropriate nutrients it needs to build the muscle and maintain your muscle mass, and to be able to recover and heal appropriately, then you are going into further and further poor health. So stay out of the doctor's offices. Exercising every day is not that difficult. It it just takes getting started. Is the most difficult part of the journey for a lot of people. I know it was for myself, and just that getting started and then building some momentum by having a daily routine built in. um you know 10-15 minutes a day of doing some kind of calisthenics, putting on a bag and going for a walk, like putting on a backpack and going for a walk, starting wherever you are in your own health journey. Stay away from all the sugar stuff and the carbs, and focus on eating nutrient dense um, foods that hopefully you can source locally. If you can't, then um, buy get the highest quality foods that you can get your hands on. Sometimes that might be uh, buying. I'm not gonna say like anybody, they can put the organic label, but on anything really, like, and it may not necessarily mean it's organic from the grocery store, but it may be a little bit better than just the processed sugar stuff that's out there. So, you know, work with what you got, see what you can get started with, growing yourself, grow the things that you would like to eat for one, and then find other people in your area, and by going to the local farmers markets and chatting up the farmers, and you know asking them questions about growing food, and get started building this new system that is desperately needed. I mean, I know so many people, in my extended family, and then in other friends and people that have been going through different health issues that I feel is in a big part because of the low quality food and additives uh, in our diets, and lack of exercise, and all that kind of stuff. Being in that position myself of just and a lot of times everybody's so stressed out that one cope is to just go for the refrigerator and just gorge yourself until you're totally full. And like, I used to do that, man. I used to go to the fridge and late at night just be like munching on stuff, and just the state I was in at the time, I feel like I had really kind of given up myself. Like, I felt a little black pilled on the world and things like that. And what found that as an escape is to just eat all this food and just like get really unhealthy and gained a lot of weight and wasn't exercising, didn't feel like exercising or anything like that, and going down a bad path. And I feel now, why did I wait so long? Why hadn't I realized that myself, that to be a truly free person is to have the responsibility of taking care of the body that I've been given, and to work on myself is like step one in finding freedom, is to free your own mind and take responsibility for yourself and your actions in your life. And so if I can leave you guys with anything tonight, that's, I guess, the message is to stop, don't wait for somebody else, that you are the solution. There's no figure, there's no person that's going to come in and give you a magic button or a solution to fix everything that you can see is so messed up in the world. It's the actions that you take, it's the things that you support, it's the responsibility that you take that will make a difference. And it's not easy, but it's worth it. So many things I could tell you have changed in my personal life by pursuing the exercise. Just a lot more energy, motivation, creativity. Uh, just several ideas going through my head, and working on defeating that poverty mindset, instead of saying, well, I only make this much, and I'm limited to the things that I can accomplish. Instead of telling myself that, to tell myself like, well, how can I make that work? How can I do something extra so that I can begin to accomplish the goals that I've set out for myself? And talking to folks like Tim Cook and John Willis, and uh, my all my podcast guests, my recent guests with Brian Oleskovich and what they're doing in Delinquents Goalie. There's a big inspiration between what they have going on is what formulated the partnership that I have going on with me and Logan right now, actually, so that all these people, when you surround yourself with positive people that are working toward their goals and aspirations, and share those lessons learned with others and help build them up as well, like those are the folks you want to surround yourself with. Like the the things that are sold to you as things that will make you happy and make your life better, like just going out and just that, like the hedonistic lifestyle of self, um just always seeking pleasure in different things, and just the party attitude, I guess. It's like I don't feel like that's ever brought me any type of it may have brought momentary happiness to have us have that social circle, and something to do on the weekends, I guess, like to release the stress valve for the weekends, but gaining nothing positive in return, and only seeing more and more drain on your bank account as a side effect, where whereas focusing on your goals and making sacrifices to achieve those goals will leave you much happier in the end, knowing that you got personal goals accomplished and were able to get one step closer to where you want to be. And even though there are bumps in the road along that process, I believe it's a much more satisfying endeavor, in striving towards a purpose and a vision and a goal will make you much happier than falling into all the vices and things that you can find yourself getting lost in. So that's what I wanted to share with you guys tonight. I hope y'all got some value out of this show. And if you find that what I was talking about brought some value, please give me a like, a share. Let me know what you guys think about how we can reclaim our local food sovereignty, and some ideas that you may have, because this is something that can be achieved. It will be achieved, and we are the ones, the individuals out there. Your efforts build and collect and grow a lot of the positive future that will be created from those individual decisions and efforts. So I hope you guys like the stream. We'll be back next week, and with a new topic, and possibly a guest. I got to get better at booking guests, and we'll see you guys then. And until then, have a great one. See ya.